This is Ralph Zuranski. I'm on the phone with Sharif Khan. He's the president and founder of Diamond Mind Enterprises, an organization devoted to transforming coal mines into diamond mines through the applied pressure of higher knowledge, wellness education, and leadership training. His vision is to inspire the world with hope, faith, love, respect, excellence, and the courage to dream. Sharif has dedicated over 10 years of research in the field of human potential development and studying great leaders. He is a very dynamic, highly engaging, and much sought-after public speaker who lectures about topics on what makes great leaders, the winning qualities of leadership, success, and what makes a hero, to a wide range of audience from university students to associations to the corporate world. Having had the opportunity to live abroad in Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, and America, and experienced world travel, Sharif was exposed to people of all different faiths at an early age. In his travels he saw the shared humanity and divinity within every soul. Yet, he also saw the hatred toward people in different creeds and colors. Having been a victim of racial hatred himself, Sharif has embarked on a lifetime quest to understand and share how one overcomes adversity, how one maintains a positive concept of self, and how world leaders triumph over the bonds of ignorance. He is also an author of The Psychology of the Hero Soul. He serves as a book consultant specializing in helping people successfully produce, sell, and market their informational products. After finishing his bachelor's in psychology at York University, he went on to successfully manage and operate a bestsellers franchise for over 5 years, selling, marketing, and promoting books and various multimedia products. Sharif, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, Ralph, and it is an honor and a privilege to be on your show.
Well, thank you. I really was amazed when I found you on the Internet and read about your book. It seems that you've been focusing on looking at people as potential everyday heroes. What is your definition of heroism?
Well, it stems from the original word hero, and hero comes from the Greek root servos and heros, which means to serve and protect. So self-sacrifice for the higher good and betterment of humanity is at the heart of being a hero or a leader. And what that implies, Ralph, is that the seeds of greatness lie within us all because we have that innate capacity to serve. A hero lies within me, within you, and within everyone else who is out there in the world, because we all have that capacity to serve. And Martin Luther King said it best. He said, "Everyone can be great because anyone can serve." You don't have to have your college degree to serve. You don't have to have your subject and your verb agree to serve. All you need is a heart full of grace and a soul generated by love. And that is the vision which I built my work on.
Wow, that's really profound. Did you ever create a secret hero in your mind that helped you deal with life's problems?
It's very interesting, Ralph, that you mentioned that. I have actually a council of light, or a team of heroes, if you will. And I got this concept from Napoleon Hill. Have you heard of this concept at all?
I have not.
Well, in Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich, he talks about creating your own team of heroes in your mind, where you go deep within your mind and you actually choose some of your greatest heroes to sit on a council at a table and advise and counsel you. And so I actually go to a secret place in my mind in meditation, and I have a council of people. Some of them include greats like any people like Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela, Gandhi, Frank Sinatra, Jodie Foster. I just have like a whole bunch of different heroes, and I actually talk to them in my dreams and in my imagination, and they give me answers and encouragement. So it might sound strange, but actually that's how I've sort of developed my own wisdom council, if you will.
Well, what were the qualities and attributes of those heroes that made you choose them?
Pardon me?
What were the qualities and attributes of those people that you chose to be your secret heroes?
I would say, they had a dream. They knew, they were determined. They knew exactly what it is that they wanted, and they had a larger-than-life vision. So they had gone out there with courage and done what it is that they wanted to do, and they didn't take no from anybody. and were able to accomplish their dreams. And so I look up to these models as saying, if they can do it, I can do it.
What is your perspective on ethics, goodness, and moral behavior?
Well, I think that that is a very important question, and we need to really be able to ask ourselves, is it going to be, in business, is it going to be a win-win situation for everybody that's involved, and is it going to harm anyone? If it's going to harm other people, or if it's going to, in a way, negatively influence and impact other people around us, then we should simply not go ahead and do that. So it really comes down to simply, are we positively impacting other people? Are we making a difference? And is it in line with our vision? And a lot of people kind of, to get a quick buck or for the greed factor, immediately try taking shortcuts, and it ends up getting into lots of problems.
What do you think are the principles that it's worth sacrificing your life for?
I would say that to be able to, for freedom is definitely something that's worth sacrificing for. The freedom to live our dreams, to imagine, to hope, and to prosper from doing what it is that we love doing. That is something that is ultimately worth giving up our lives for. And it is interesting that in North America we do have economic freedom and we do have political freedom, but that is really not normal. We are really blessed and privileged to have those opportunities here, because more than half the world do not have those same opportunities.
When was the lowest point in your life, and how did you change your life path to win a victory over all obstacles?
Well, Ralph, the lowest point in my life was, as a very young child, I had grown up with a lot of racial hatred and racial prejudice simply because of the color of my skin and being a South Asian. And I grew up with a lot of low self-esteem and low self-worth, and carried it all through my young adulthood. And there was a tragic time in my life when my father passed away when I was 18 years old. I was going to school in the States at that time, in high school. And that was a devastating experience for me, because my father was a best friend and a beacon of light and hope for me, and he encouraged me to excel and to be the best that I can be. And so when my father passed away, I fell into a spiral of depression, and because of my low self-esteem and low self-worth, I didn't see any ways out, and I felt that I was immersed in complete darkness and didn't know where to turn. And at the time, I had to pay. My father didn't have any life insurance or car insurance, so I had to pay my way for my last year of high school. It was a private boarding school, and I ended up corking and uncorking blood specimen test tubes and working in a lab, like separating urine and feces samples all day long. So it was not the most exciting summer job for a student. And the long and short of it is that within a very short period of time, I became an alcoholic. I became an alcoholic at 18, and I was passed out drunk on the streets of Queens, New York, and on the subway systems, and didn't have a hope in the world. And that was really the lowest point in my life, and it was also a turning point in my life, because that was a point where I decided that I knew where I was going. I didn't want to end up like so many other statistics. And I wanted to get myself out of that situation. And for myself, personally, it was turning to God and letting go and letting God and saying, let your will be done in me. I need your help, and I need your guidance. And God intervened in my life. So that was an incredible turning point in my life, and turning to faith and the higher power within me was what got me out of that situation.
Do you have a dream or vision that sets the course of your life?
Absolutely. My vision is to inspire the world and make a positive difference in people's lives, to help create a global culture of heroes and responsible citizens who are dedicated to promoting peace and prosperity in the world. So that is a vision that is larger than life, and it gets me going and energized. Whether I'm having a good day or a bad day, it gets me up in the morning, and it allows me to stretch and grow.
Do you take a positive view of setbacks, misfortunes, and mistakes?
Absolutely. I think it was the Mr. Thompson, who's the founder of IBM, who said, in order to increase your success rate, you have to double your failure rate. So failures and setbacks and mistakes are simply stepping stones towards greater and greater success. And we need to just ask ourselves, what can we learn from this experience? How can we grow from this experience? Because nothing is really a failure. Everything is a learning experience.
Are you an optimist?
I am a perpetual optimist. I'm always looking at the glass half full versus half empty.
Do you think that it takes courage to pursue new ideas?
Yes, it does. It takes a lot of courage because typically when in the new development of an idea stage, people tend to bring us down and want to put us at our own level. So having the courage to succeed and not taking no for an answer and going beyond what's out there is something that is absolutely important, including myself. When writing has been a passion of mine, Ralph, since I was probably 8 years old, since I was very young. And people around me, especially within the South Asian culture, even sometimes in my case, my family, said that, Sharif, don't be a writer because you'll be a struggling writer all your life, and why don't you be a doctor or a lawyer or an accountant or an MBA that so that you can make money. But it took me courage to say, no, this is what I'm passionate about, this is what I love doing, and this is what I'm going to do. And I stuck to it, and I disciplined myself to write 2 hours every day and 10 hours on the weekend. And within a period of 2 years' time, I had a finished book, Psychology of the Hero Soul, which is an inspirational book on awakening the hero within and developing people's leadership potential.
Were you willing to experience discomfort in the pursuit of your dream?
Absolutely. That is something that is necessary because it takes a lot of hard work and a lot of effort. It's nothing is actually comes easy. Everything that is worthy of achievement requires hard work, requires effort, and requires persistence and perseverance. And sometimes things don't work out the way that you had expected, but if we let those things bring us down and drag us down, then we're not able to. I think, for example, in the book publishing world, only 5% of the authors are actually making it, and 95% of them aren't. And the reason because of that is because I would say 95% of them give up within the first year or two. And so it requires continual effort and continual perseverance.
How important is it to believe that your dreams will eventually become reality?
It is very important, Ralph. I mean, I totally am believing in that you have to really taste and feel and smell your dreams as if it was a reality right now. And I'm a big believer in really seeing the reality and the vision and the dreams right up front, right now, the way it is. Because if you can't visualize and see the tears of triumph running down your face when you win that award or when you get that promotion, nothing's going to happen. It doesn't matter how many goals you set or how many affirmations you say until you're blue in the face. If you don't have that feeling or that knowing that it's going to be a reality, then nothing's going to happen.
Everybody has doubts and fears. In fact, a lot of people are paralyzed by those doubts and fears. How were you able to overcome your doubts and fears?
Well, one of the ways that I'm able to overcome my doubts and fears is a little technique which I learned from Anthony Robbins, where I condition myself for pain in terms of whenever doubts and fears come up to me. Basically, I put a rubber band around my wrist, and every time I had a little inkling of doubt or a little inkling of fear saying, Sharif, you won't be able to do this, I just snapped that rubber band, and it gave a feeling of pain. So there are two things that motivate human behavior: the desire to gain pleasure or the desire to avoid pain. In other words, the desire to look good or avoid looking bad. And so that's one way. And another way of being able to overcome my doubts and fears is having a vision for myself in the future of where I expect to be. And this would be like a really great exercise that everybody can do, is on a one-page piece of paper in the present tense, write down where you want to be 10 years from now. What type of an income level do you want to be making? How would you be perceived and how would you be treated? What type of clothing would you be wearing? What type of life would you be living? And start being that person right now and start commanding that presence right now. And we will attract the circumstances and the people in our life to be able to accomplish that vision. So those are the two ways that I overcome my doubts and my fears.
You know, that's funny. I heard that same information from Mark Victor Hansen, and he passed out a ton of rubber bands. So
Yeah.
I got a bunch of them. I think I've worn a few of those out already.
You must have some red marks around your wrist.
I do. It's amazing how fast giving yourself pain when you have negative thoughts, how fast that switches your thoughts to positive.
Yes.
Who helped give you the willpower to change things in your life for the better?
Well, definitely my father had passed on a lot of wisdom and guidance and into me and encouraged me to study the lives of successful people and successful biographies. My father was a PhD in psychology, and ever since I was 8 years old, he immersed myself in the classics like James Allen and Wayne Dyer and Shakti Gawain and all of these personal development gurus. I started learning at a very young age, and he was an inspiration to me. And the other person that was a real inspiration to me is a gentleman by the name of Jim Ross, who I dedicated and founded my book to. And he was the founder of the Canadian Academy of Method Acting, and he taught me a lot about the psychology of the hero and the psychology of the villain. And he was a mentor. He was a messenger, a carrier of truth, and he was definitely a hero in my life.
How important is it to readily forgive those who upset, offend, and oppose you?
Pardon me?
How important is it to readily forgive those who upset, offend, and oppose you?
It is absolutely critical to be able to forgive people that have offended us or harmed us in any way. And it's a very difficult thing to do, but if we really think about it, the harnessing the anger and the hatred and anger against the other person is not doing anything for that person. It's only harming us and creating toxins and bad energies within our body, which is going to ruin our health. I think there was some sort of a study where they said that even for 10 minutes or even 1 minute of feeling angry could kill, I believe it was a guinea pig. So can you imagine, half an hour or an hour or many years of feeling anger and hatred towards somebody, what kind of damage that can do to our own health and mental well-being. So it's very important to forgive others and let go and just move on.
Do you experience service to others as a source of joy?
Yes, I do. I sincerely believe that the hero's journey is about following one's bliss and doing what one loves doing in service to others. That is what really brings the most joy, and that is really what brings the most success as well, because the only way we can get what we want is by helping enough people to get what they want first. And so I'm a really big believer in serving, and all we need to do, if we want to increase our wealth by 10 times, you just need to ask yourself the question, how can I help 10 times as many people as I'm helping right now?
What place does the power of prayer have in your life?
The power of prayer has really changed my life 180 degrees. I believe that at that time when I was at a low point in Queens, New York, and had nowhere to turn to, if I did not pray to God and ask for guidance and ask for help and intervention, that I would definitely not be here today. I might be in an alleyway somewhere with a knife stuck in my back or ending up being a criminal. So prayer has been an important and daily part of my life.
Do you maintain a sense of humor in the face of serious problems?
I try to, Ralph. Sometimes it's very difficult when something overwhelming occurs, and it's difficult to sort of laugh in the face of fear and obstacles. But I think it's important for heroes and leaders to not take themselves seriously, to take their work seriously, but not take ourselves seriously, and to be able to admit our faults and our weaknesses. And I think that's what endears other people to leaders, is when they say that, he's one of us, that this person is one of us, and we can relate to that person.
Who are the heroes in your life?
I would say, well, definitely my father was a hero. Jim Ross, who I dedicated my book, Psychology of the Hero Soul, has been a hero to me because he was a teacher and a mentor, a messenger, a carrier of truth. And I think that the people out there making a difference in other people's lives, teachers, coaches, entrepreneurs, I think all of those people who are serving people or helping solve problems and showing people how to overcome their own problems are the real, true heroes. And it's unfortunate that the media doesn't pay enough attention, which is why I really like your In Search of Heroes program, because it's really unique.
Why are heroes so important in the lives of young people?
Ralph, I think that heroes are so important in the lives of young people. It's because there's not a lot of role models that are out there. Sometimes the role models give a very negative impression. And so when you see someone in the movies or even in school, the gang leaders or the gang members who are profiting from doing criminal activity and wearing nice clothes and driving a Mercedes, these people have like a negative influence on the younger people. And I think the younger people really need to see heroes and leaders who are actually not only making a difference in other people's lives, but are also prospering themselves, so that they can also look to those people as examples and follow in their pursuit, because our children and the young ones are going to be our future leaders of tomorrow. And so it's very important to have the right heroes and the right leaders impacting their lives.
Are there any heroes today that aren't getting the recognition that they deserve?
Well, I would say, just as I had mentioned before, that many of the teachers, many of the coaches, many people who are training and teaching young entrepreneurs, these people are not getting the recognition that they actually deserve, because we're all focused on the celebrities or the actors or the sports heroes, that we tend to forget our friends and the families and the people around us who are making a small difference in people's lives on a daily basis.
How do people become heroes?
That's a very good question, and I think that to start being a hero is to, first of all, self-knowledge is really important. On the Greek temple of Apollo it says, "Man, know thyself, and you will know the gods in the universe." To know your strengths and your weaknesses, your deepest desires and your deepest fears. Really being able to understand where you begin and where you end and beyond. Self-knowledge is so important, because through self-knowledge we learn what it is that we really want to do, what our calling in life is, what our blessings are. And by pursuing those blessings, by following our bliss and doing what it is that we love doing in service to others, we automatically become heroes. So that is the first step in becoming heroes.
Do you think heroes are located everywhere?
Absolutely. Heroes are all around us. They are with our friends and family and relatives. They are in different parts of the world, in different parts of the city. People are doing small, random acts of kindness every single day, and the media doesn't go out and videotape them, so we don't know. When we pick up the newspaper, we see all the tragedies and the harm and the wars that are going on in the world, but we don't recognize that the heroes are all around us, and we don't really have to look too far.
That's interesting. With all your world travels, would you say that people in different cultures look at heroes differently?
I would think so because of they have different connotations about what a hero means. Like, for example, in Australia, they talk about cutting down the tall poppy. And so anyone who gets to be too heroic or too, big on themselves, they like to cut down because they feel that that person is being too, self-indulging. So, and people have like very different attitudes as what heroism is and what a hero actually means and who they look up to as heroes. It's really interesting to see the different worldviews. I don't think that they share necessarily the common elements because of the different connotations that they have of heroes.
With the world the way that it is, especially the war against terrorism, you've lived in Pakistan and Saudi Arabia, and do the people that are in those Middle East countries, do they look at heroes differently, like like the bombers or the Al Qaeda? Could you shed some light on that?
Yeah, it's a very difficult question because unfortunately there are some people out there that I'm not talking about the Middle Eastern culture or the Iraqi culture or the Pakistani culture in general, but there are some people who have a twisted mentality and see the terrorist or the Osama bin Ladens as heroes, or it was at the time, for example, when Hitler was running Germany. At that time, so many German youths had been through propaganda at a very early age, had been set to view Hitler as a hero, as a god to be looked up to. And what I find the problem is that many of these terrorist operations that are occurring within these countries are sending out this propaganda and setting up schools and actually infiltrating young minds with a lot of garbage and a lot of nonsense about who are heroes and who are not heroes and what are the requirements of heroes. So that's something that myself, being a South Asian and having lived in those countries, I'm trying to definitely change with my work with Psychology of the Hero Soul to let people know that there are options, there are ways of looking at it. This is what a true hero really is. This is where the origin comes from, the Greek origin, which means to serve and protect. And I'm hoping to change perceptions.
How does it feel to be recognized as a hero?
It's a really rewarding feeling because, coming from a stage in my life, I grew up in Scarborough and here in Ontario, Canada, and at one time I was suffering so much low self-esteem and worthlessness that I never took any leadership roles at all in school or in my young adulthood. And to now come full circle and be respected as a leader, as a hero, training entrepreneurs and executives and educators and students alike on the qualities of leadership and being a hero, it really is a very rewarding feeling to be held in respected esteem, and words can't even describe it.
Why do you think you were selected for this unique honor?
I really believe that early in life, because of the unique situations which happened in my life and the tragedies which I suffered, I connected at a deeper level, at a spiritual level, and found out at an early age what my calling in life is. And, my calling, my purpose is to enrich the lives of as many people as I possibly can using my God-given talents, writing being the main one. And so I think I've been privileged because I saw my calling at an early age and I took action and decided to pursue my calling regardless of what others were saying around me.
How will being recognized as a hero change your life?
Pardon me?
How will being recognized as a hero change your life?
It already has changed my life, Ralph, in the sense that I know that if I were to pass away right now, that I have already done something that will leave a lasting legacy and a gift to humanity with the work that I've already done. So it gives me a great sense of peace. And what really gets me going and the drive that keeps me going is, what would be on my epitaph when I died? How do I want to be remembered as a hero? And that's what allows me to wanting to serve as best I can, using my God-given abilities to help as many people as I can within the shortest frame that's left, because life is really fragile. And, life is so short. I mean, I don't know if you heard about, have you heard about Corey Riddell?
Yes, I have.
And, he recently passed away from a car accident, and I think they were racing, and he was such an inspiration to other people on teaching them about the Internet. And so, life is really fragile. It's short, and we need to make the most of it right now.
Do you have any good solutions to the problems facing society, especially racism, child and spousal abuse, and violence among young people?
I would really say that humanity is, ourselves are really reflected, our own image is reflected in every single human individual around us. And what we do to others, we're actually doing to ourselves. And if we mistreat somebody else, or if we call somebody else names, or harm somebody, we are actually harming ourselves, because what goes around comes around. And, the law of action and reaction, for every action, there is an equal and opposite amount of reaction. So that's the best thing that I can say is, like, if you want to be respected and treated with love and compassion, then you need to treat other people with love and compassion and respect, and you'll get that back 10 times over.
If you had 3 wishes for your life in the world that would come true instantly, what would they be?
Well, one wish would be to have people in the world live in harmony, and for people to find ways to be prosperous doing what it is that they really love doing and that they genuinely love doing. I think I'd love to see a world where we can actually accommodate that and help people to do what they love doing and prosper. I see so many people and so many youth out there that have ambitions and aspirations and dreams, but they're not finding an outlet to be able to live those dreams. And they're really perishing inside, and it's so sad to see so many people who don't find a direction or a calling in life and are thinking about committing suicide. So that is one wish, is to see everybody living a prosperous life, doing what they love doing. My second wish would be to, if there was like a magic wand and it was a utopia, to end the wars and the famine and the disease, and have a world where there's just peace and love and respect for each other. And finally, my third wish would be to have a world have people who are dedicated to excellence, because God is actually excellence. It's the best, being the best of the best, holding ourselves to high standards and to quality, because we would really have a paradise on earth if we were committed towards excellence, towards truth and nobility and something grand.
What do you think about the In Search of Heroes program and its impact on youth, parents, and business people?
Ralph, I think it's the greatest thing. I mean, I'm so glad that you were able to find me on the web somehow, and when I took a look at your In Search of the Heroes program and what it's doing for the youth, as well as for promoting the local heroes and helping their businesses, which will allow them to further give back to their communities and further be mentors to the youth and to the students, who then in turn can learn more about writing and more about becoming heroes. It's like a wonderful positive cycle that you've created, and I really admire what you're doing and respect you. You're a hero in your own right.
Well, thank you. What are the things that parents can do that will help their children realize that they too can be heroes and make a positive impact on the lives of others?
Well, I think that the one thing that parents can do is to be role models for their children by living their own dreams and doing what it is that they love doing, and encouraging their children when they have ideas or when they have goals and aspirations, instead of putting them down or saying that it's not realistic, or that your vision is too big, to actually tell them that to encourage them and to give them hope and inspiration and encouragement, and give them an avenue to go out there and do what it is that they love doing. And that's the best thing that they can do.
That's really great advice, Sharif, and I really appreciate your time. I know how busy you are, and I just really appreciate your work and what you're doing in working to make the world a better place.
Thank you, Ralph. It has been an honor and a privilege.
Well, thanks again, and I'm going to buy your book as soon as I possibly can so I can read it.
Thanks, Ralph.
What's the name of your book again?
It is titled Psychology of the Hero Soul.
Uh-huh.
And people can order it on my website. It's herosoul.com, herosoul.com. And it's an inspirational book on awakening the hero within and developing people's leadership potential. It's based on my 10 years of research in the field of human development and leadership, and was recently mentioned in USA Today.
Ah, that's really great. Well, again, good luck on the work that you're doing.
Thank you very much, Ralph. It has been a pleasure.